Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nick Zorns, the Development Services Director, and I also serve as the zoning administrator for the city of Los Altos. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. It's 4 p.m. And this is the regularly scheduled meeting for the zoning administrator hearing, which is twice monthly. So I will kind of mirror a lot of what we do for our other public hearings. So some of it is a little bit redundant, but I have to do it just because it's our requirements. So this meeting is being recorded, and there are potentially members from the public that can view from at home, but we do not accept public comments at this time. The city council about 6 months ago suspended that action, so you have to be present in the chamber to be able to be called upon for any public comments for projects on the agenda. With that being said, there is an opportunity for if there's any public comments for items not on the agenda. If you do have something, stand up. There never is, but I have to ask. So with that, we're going to move on to items for consideration. Item number 1 is the zoning administrator meeting minutes from the March 20th meeting. Since those are drafted internally by development services staff, I've already seen them as the zoning administrator, so I'm moving to just approve those minutes. So that jumps into the public hearing section of our agenda for today. Item number 2 is a property at 284 Alvarado Avenue. And Sean Gallegos can provide a staff project planner overview.
Good afternoon, zoning administrator Zorn. The application before you is the design review application for construction of a new 3,540 square foot 2-story house. The new residence is traditional architectural style with the exterior materials that include composition shingle roof, exterior shingle exterior finish with wood trim, aluminum clad windows and doors. Staff believes the proposed project meets the development standards of the R110 zoning district and complies with single family residential design guidelines due to its compatibility with the character of the neighborhood. Staff does note that we did receive one additional public comment on Monday, April 1st from Jen Evan Chen. There is issues regarding privacy. A similar letter was provided in the packet. Staff notes that due to the evergreen screening along the southwest corner, not providing screening along the property line, staff is recommending condition number 3 to require that the three wood Wardia plants at the southwest corner are replaced with evergreen screening trees to fill in the unscreened portions of the left, south, and rear west property lines to minimize privacy impacts. Staff does recommend approval of the project, and this concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Sean. So with that, this item was originally continued from the March 20th zoning administrator hearing, where I did accept public testimony at that time. I technically did close the public hearing at that time, but I will accept additional public testimony from anybody that's in the chamber for 284 Alvarado. Is there anybody present? One? Okay. You can come up and talk at the lectern.
I believe at the time my concern was threefold. The privacy was because I'm directly in the line of sight. 2 was the trees. 1 was Los side, the oak tree, which you kindly noted that will be removed before construction. Second one, I'm not sure whether you remember or not, was on the Alvarado side. If you look at the Google map, it will show 2 birch trees. And actually last year, during the winter storm, one of the oak tree fell and the other one is actually leaning on the power poles and it's still there. And there also a dead tree on the Alvarado side, closer to Panchita. Quite large diameter, and that also is hazardous. and what is the planning commission suggestion?
So you're talking about the,
The two birch trees, one fell and actually disrupted the street pattern and also disrupted safety of the neighborhood. And they had to be removed. And the second tree was actually leaning and still leaning on the power pole.
the plans right now. You can, do you have any other public comments? Because I'm gonna ask clarifying questions to staff.
No, that's it.
So I will ask my questions to the staff.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment specific to this project? And I did talk a little bit quickly before taking public testimony for this again. Is there an applicant present that wants to make a mention of anything about this project?
I will just say, I'm Steve Collins, applicant of Architect RH Associates Architects. I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, and so the two trees that the lady is speaking about, so if staff should have talked to you about what's identified on your plans, your site plan, sheet A1 is the oak tree. Is gonna be
Okay, number one.
yeah, it's gonna be conditioned to be removed. That was from a public comment, and I agree with that since it's kind of intersecting and growing right where the utility pole is.
Okay,
And then, but your plan, and this is for staff to clarify potentially as well. Tree 5 and 6 is what the adjacent neighbor is in question about potential tree hazards. And Sean, the 5 and 6 are still to remain, correct?
Yes.
So that's the elm and the ash tree. Is there, so this is a question for the architect, is there any specific reason other than it's protected under our ordinance?
yes.
Are they both in good, healthy condition as described by a certified arborist?
We do not have an arborist.
Okay, all right, so with that though, just because there has been public comment specific to it, and it is talking about specifically previous tree failure in regards to the fact the city has recently taken action to amend our tree preservation ordinance in order to be able to grant the authority to myself as the zoning administrator to remove any trees that potentially will intersect with overhead power lines. You guys will obviously underground the drop to the existing house, but you know, you're not gonna be doing major transmission lines that are immediately in front and adjacent to the property. So with that, I'm gonna add that there is a individual condition of approval for tree number 5 and 6 that does need to substantiate that they are healthy trees and that will not die within the near term future in order to be able to have them removed or not removed. If they are found to be something within the next, you know, few years that could have failure, then they will be required to be removed.
Okay,
Okay?
will they be required to have anything replaced?
There would be a replacement plan, but we would look at that specifically under like the WELO regulations when we look at it in plan check. Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. I know I talked about that fast, but so I will repeat that. So there is no more additional public comments. The applicant and staff have opined on some of the questions and concerns of the public as well as myself as the ZA. I am granting the approval of this project with the additional condition which was discussed at the last meeting, which is tree number 1, which is an oak tree off of the Los Niños side, will be removed as it intersects with a utility line and pole immediately adjacent to it. And then tree number 5 and 6, one of which is an elm tree, the other is an ash tree that are along the Alvarado Avenue side. Those are going to be required to submit an arborist report as a part of its building permit submission. We will review it at that time. And if they are required to be removed, we will be requiring replacement trees in accordance with the new tree preservation ordinance. And those trees are identified on sheet A1. So for the staff that's listening, taking notes for the minutes. So with that, the project is approved. Staff will amend the conditions of approval to have that additional requirement. And we will send you an approval letter so you can enter into building plan check.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna move on to item number 3, which is a design review application at 1358 Montclair Way. Project planner Jalu is going to give us a staff report, please.
Good afternoon, to Administrators Forum. This is Jia Liu, Associate Planner. Before you, I'm presenting the design review application file number SC 23-0016 for your consideration. The subject site is at 1358 Montclair Way, located on the south side of Montclair. The proposed project includes the construction of a 30 square foot first story and 700 square foot second story addition to the existing one-story house. The project is found in compliance with the R1-10 district development standards per the city's municipal code. Regarding the design, the existing house has a traditional ranch architectural style with low-scaled building forms, gable and cape roofs, and simple details. The design of the addition is found consistent with the single-family residential design guidelines by maintaining the elements of a ranch house with its simplistic massing and practical aesthetic. For the landscaping, the project plans to retain all 6 protected redwood trees located in the rear yard. Additionally, a new Chinese pistache tree will be planted in the front yard to complement the streetscape, and 36 evergreen screening plants will be planted along the rear and left property lines. Last but not least, in addition to the required public hearing noticing, the applicant reached out to the adjacent neighbors in the immediate area. No written comments or concerns have been received by staff from the adjacent neighbors directly. With all the findings and facts presented, staff now recommends the zoning administrator approve the project subject to the listed findings and conditions of approval. Now staff concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jia. You can have a seat. I don't have any questions. Thank you. So with that, I'm assuming there's probably a project proponent or applicant, but since I don't really have questions for the applicant or the property owner, are there public comments specific to this project? Public comments or anything on the property on Montclair? No? Okay. So with that, there's obviously no public opposition. Staff has been able to conclude that there are positive findings pursuant to the design review regulations with the city of Los Altos. The project at 1358 Montclair Way is approved as provided in the staff report. Staff will prepare an approval letter for the proposed project, and then you can move into building plan check thereafter. So with that, that concludes item number 3. We're going to move on to design review application at 16 Otis Way, and this is staff planner Sean Gallegos.
Good afternoon, liaisons. The application for is a design review application for a new 3,638 square foot 2-story house. The house design is a neo-eclectic architectural style that combines the traditional 2-story layout, including simple massing, gable and hip roof forms, recessed front porch, and practical aesthetic. Additionally, contemporary architectural features such as simplified forms, open floor plans, and minimalistic details are integrated. Staff does believe that the proposed project meets the development standards in the R110 district, complies with single-family residential design guidelines, is compatible with the character of the neighborhood as design maintains its appropriate relationship with the adjacent structures, and ensures compatibility internally with the design itself. Staff, at time of publishing of the report, did not receive any public comments and no comments. We have not received any comments as of this week. As of staff, this concludes staff presentation. Let's hear it. Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to, again, I don't have questions for the project applicant. However, I'm going to open it to the public hearing for public comments for the proposed project on Otis Way. Are there any public comments? You, sir? All right, come up to the lectern, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Werner Schmidt. I am the owner of the property adjacent to the new 16 Otis Way. My address is 30 Otis Way. I have been in contact with the new owners and they have sent me plans for the new house. I did provide some comments to him. And my concern was at the time that the new house is a two-story house, replacing a one-story house. And we have a hedge adjacent to their property of 8 feet. And it's shown in this picture here. And I believe the peak of the house will have a bedroom which is overlooking the house. I talked to the new owner. And one of the concerns is we have a large series of windows looking at that property. So there is concern about visibility into our house. So I have talked to the owner or communicated with the owner. And there's two solutions. One is we could grow the hedge from 8 feet to 9 feet and possibly block the view looking down onto our property. And the other is that the owners said that possibly they could put a frosted window where the house is viewing down into our house. So I'd like to make that comment.
Okay, so I will somewhat respond in regards to a couple of your comments. So in regards to hedges, the city does not really enforce specific hedge heights or requirements in regards to what is allowed in the zoning district, specific to anything that kind of would be something that is a condition of approval. I am looking at so that's fine if you guys come to your own mutual agreement about landscaping in between the properties. That's for your own kind of prerogative, so to speak. I'm looking at the right or the north elevation of the property. There are 3 windows that are at the second story level that would be required of any property for ingress egress for emergency life safety. So there's never going to be a second story addition where it has a habitable space that doesn't have some sort of a window for emergency ingress egress. So that's why they exist. When you show a picture, like you said, of yours, is it looks like you guys don't have window treatments. I would imagine that private bedrooms would have window treatment just for the virtue of they're not going to probably want to get woken up by the sun in the morning. Also, one of them is a small bathroom. And so that window is also at a higher level than the other ones. So it's not like people would be looking at it. So there's what we often refer to as perception versus what is enforceable of the objective design regulations. If the property owner is willing to do frosted glass for some of the windows at the second level, I would also imagine, which is more of an opaqueness than frosted glass. I don't know of many people that are building brand new homes in Los Altos that aren't also doing window coverings, but we don't condition for window coverings and we don't condition for frosted glass. Those are not objective requirements that are allowed under SB 330, which is the Housing Accountability Act. This project is subject to only objective design standards as required under the Housing Crisis Act. So I do not have any authority to apply those specific provisions. Like I have told other residents of the community is you guys are going to be living next to each other. And it sounds like there's kind of a little bit of an amicable agreement between the two of you now. I would say to continue to work together collaboratively so that you guys have good relationships next to each other. But those are not 2 requirements that I can condition as a part of the project approval because we are limited to what we're allowed to do pursuant to state law now.
So is it allowable to have the hedge grow up more than 8 feet?
Yes, if you guys so choose to, yes. As long as it doesn't impede an overhead like power line. which I don't believe, because I'm looking at your, both of your properties, at Google Street View right now. Doesn't appear that you guys have any, issue, with that because the utility drop line, which is what is going from the, transmission line across the street. Their overhead line will be undergrounded, so there really shouldn't be any issue with that. So I don't think you guys will have a problem with that. And so you guys can, I mean, obviously you have a redwood tree that grows right in the middle of the two of you guys, so it looks like that's way over 8 feet to me, so I wouldn't do any regulations that would enforce a hedge that's between the two of you for your own private property and enjoyment.
All right.
So that's something mutually agreed upon between the two of you.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Thank you. So with that is I'm assuming your project applicants or proponents, correct? Yep, okay. I don't have any questions for you. So with that, I am gonna close the public hearing. There have not been any public comments that would alter the, material nature of the, conditions of approval. So with that being said, the project for design review application at 16 Otis Way is approved as proposed. And that concludes the, zoning administrator hearing, which it is now 4:21. Thank you.